In the dense, eerie woods of Kentucky, where trees whisper secrets of the past and shadows seem to dance with malevolent intent, there lurks a terror that chills the bravest souls to their core. Deep within the twisted undergrowth, a legend of a monster reigns supreme. As the moon casts a pale, ghostly glow over the landscape, a group of adventurous thrill-seekers venture into the forbidden realm of the Poplick Trestle, a decaying railroad bridge that spans a deep gorge. Their laughter and bravado echo through the night, mingling with the rustle of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. But as they reach the center of the bridge, a sense of unease descends upon them like a shroud of darkness. Whispers in the wind speak of a monstrous creature that preys on the curious and the foolish, a creature with the body of a goat and the twisted, grinning face of a man. Suddenly, the air grows thick with an otherworldly presence, and the sound of approaching footsteps sends shivers down their spines. A figure emerges from the shadows, its form obscured by the dim light. It moves with an unnatural grace, ill-fitting for its bulky form. Panic grips the group as they realize the true horror of their situation. The Poplick monster has found its next victims, and in the heart of the haunted woods, there is nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The chilling sound of hooves against wood echoes through the night as the creature closes in, its twisted grunts and groans mingling with their screams. Hello everyone, and welcome to Wicked Encounters, where we explore just what goes bump in the night. I'm your host, Allie, and today we're going to explore the Poplick monster, otherwise known as the Goatman. A local legend in Louisville, Kentucky, the Poplick monster has had a few different forms, such as being a half man and half goat, a half man and half sheep, or a headless hybrid. How that last one works, I'm not sure, but with all things, legends grow and become fantabulous with age. Typically, the monster bears an alabaster-skinned face with an aquiline nose and wide-set eyes, with sharp horns on its forehead that are nestled in its long, greasy hair. It has a deformed body of a man with fur-covered goat legs that can deliver powerful kicks with deadly accuracy. The Goatman is said to hunt the location he is named after, the Poplick Trestle, located outside the city of Louisville, where the Norfolk Southern Railroad runs right through the parklands of Floyd's Fork. Some tales say that it can utilize hypnosis or voice mimicry to lure in trespassers, where those who have fallen prey are then tricked to climb onto the high trestle above, to meet their death by an oncoming train. Another legend says that seeing the creature is so unsettling, it causes those who set their eyes on it to go mad and drive them to leap off the 100-foot drop to their death. While these methods seem to make the creature seem less inclined to kill on its own, don't worry, there are plenty of tales of the Goatman possessing a blood-stained axe that it's more than happy to slice someone up with. It has also been known to jump down from its trestle onto the roof of cars passing beneath it on the street below if it's particularly impatient for its next victim.
Hi, how are you?
How the Poplick monster came to be has a few different origin stories. One says that he is the reincarnation of a local farmer who was believed to have sacrificed goats in a deal with the devil to obtain immortality. Another is that he is the product of human-animal relations. It's hard to avoid the topic of bestiality when it comes to human-animal hybrids, unfortunately, and now I feel icky. There's a chance it's a Native American skinwalker who is seeking vengeance against the settlers in the region, and the most infamous tale is the one shared on the Louisville Halloween website that they have only moderately embellished, saying the Goatman is an escaped carny. It's very clearly just a marketing ploy to get people interested in some local Halloween events, but it's been effective enough to work its way into some people's beliefs of the Poplick monster. Get ready, because this one is in depth. Supposedly, in the 1930s, a man who called himself, oh, you'll love this later on in the video, Colonel Beauregard Schildknecht, was the owner and ringmaster of a traveling circus that performed all across the United States. Wherever the colonel and his circus went, a series of thefts, murders, and missing persons followed, with the man himself being known as a liar and a cheat. One stormy night, while stopped in Maryland, the bearded lady, Madame Bristellis, discovered an abandoned infant in a hay-filled crate outside of her tent. Severely deformed with stubby horn protrusions from its head and misshapen legs that ended in cloven hooves, she took the creature in and gave it food and shelter. When Colonel Schildknecht saw the infant, he knew he struck gold, as nothing like the poor thing had ever been seen before, and for a freak show attraction, it would be perfect. He took the child in and raised it in a cage, never letting his eye off his golden goose. As time passed, the creature grew in strength and size, its small stubs growing into large, sharp horns, and its temper turning ill and murderous from the horrible treatment it received in its imprisonment. For most of its life, it had been chained to a wall of a cage inside the circus train, whipped daily and fed gruel and scraps until one fateful night during a thunderstorm, tragedy struck, or maybe karma. The circus train was passing through Fisherville towards Louisville for its next performance, when lightning struck the track, causing the train to derail just ahead of the trestle over Poplick Creek. Amongst the twisted wreckage of the train, many of the passengers and circus crew were killed instantly, but not all. The Goatman survived the wreck, freed from its chains and torturous life, and it made sure that any survivors it found were thanked for their treatment of it, with body parts being found up to 2 miles from the crash site. The Colonel's body was never found, so it's unknown if the Poplick monster ever got to thank him. Now, is this tale true? No. There isn't any mention of a train derailing from lightning on the trestle. In fact, the only derailment that has ever been mentioned came in December 1909 from a wreck being caused by a broken brake beam. Though it wasn't carrying any circus animals, and with how active it is, it would have made news. Though it did also spawn the legend of the ghost train, which has been said to have been sighted on the trestle. To be perfectly honest, the trestle itself is much more dangerous than the legendary monster that is said to inhabit it, because of the monster said to inhabit it. The Poplick trestle is very rickety and rusty looking. It seems abandoned and uncared for. But, much like how you can't judge a book by its cover, you can't judge the trestle by its rust. Despite looking like the tracks are out of service, it is very much active, working as a major rail artery for the city of Louisville, carrying as many as 25 heavy freight trains a day. Thanks to the surrounding hills and woodlands, the light and sound from the oncoming trains are dampened, making it difficult to notice until it's much too late. Goatmen are actually fairly common around the world. Pennsylvania and Maryland have their own versions, along with Louisiana, Texas, and satyrs. Goatmen are basically just described as satyrs. What made the Poplick monster so famous was the movie released in 1989 titled The Legend of the Poplick Monster by Ron Schildknecht. See, I told you you'd love it. Funny how things come full circle with certain cryptids, huh? The film was put together after Schildknecht did some research on the area thanks to local youths who told him what they knew about the legend. He lived in the area, so he had heard about the Poplick monster before, but it is always a good thing to get other people involved when trying to discuss a local urban legend and make a movie out of it. He took the various tales and made a rather entertaining 16-minute short film horror movie that involved some teenagers buying some booze and going out on the trestle for some thrill-seeking. While there, one of them has a close encounter with the Sheep Man, which they called the Goatman in the film. Schildknecht actually says he doesn't remember when the change actually happened, it just sort of did. Kind of funny too, because when you think about sheep in pop culture, they're usually innocent, childlike, kind and pure. And goats are associated with the devil. Just some fun little facts there, you know. Anyway, the character gets caught on the bridge while a train is coming towards him and barely survives by hanging off of the edge of the tracks. This film caused a massive shitstorm in the area. Norfolk Southern Railway, the company that owns and operates the railroad that includes the Poplick trestle, had attorneys fearing that the film would urge more people to go by the tracks. Now granted, it can't be proven that the film changed much of anything except to make the monster more famous. The Poplik trestle has always been a bit of a hot spot for teenagers to test their bravery, to look for the monster, or to simply climb up to the tracks high above. The trestle has been responsible for dozens of deaths and countless injuries, with the most recent one being a fatal accident in 2019. Even in the 2 years it took Schildknecht to film and edit the movie, there were recorded accidents. Only now parents were blaming Schildknecht for their children's injuries or death, and it began being brought up in newspapers whenever an accident would happen. In fact, the movie did cause something to happen, now that I think about it. After its release and the outcry, Norfolk Southern Railway put up a simple fence. A chain link fence was their answer, along with a sign that says, "Private property, no trespassing." Once again, though, this didn't change much, as accidents as recent as 2019 have occurred, and this one was fatal. The 2019 accident happened in May and involved 2 teenage girls, one of them being Savannah Bright, who was 15. The 2 were on the tracks when a train came through and struck her. Her friend was in serious condition and was taken to the University of Louisville Hospital. This accident prompted her parents to sue Norfolk, saying that not enough precautions were put in place to prevent such a tragedy. And they're not entirely wrong. Only 3 years before that, in 2016, an Ohio tourist, 26-year-old Raquel Bain, had been looking for the Poplik monster after hearing that he can be summoned by stepping on the trestle or by crossing its 742 feet length. She didn't make it across in time when a train came through and hit her, sending her body over the 80-foot drop where she was pronounced dead at the scene. In the movie The Legend of the Poplik Monster, the character is able to survive by hanging off of the edge of the trestle. In reality, the strength required to dangle for that long for a train to pass, some of which can take 7 to 10 minutes, is impossible for the vast majority of people, especially when you factor in the vibrations from the passing train. You just can't do it, and you can't outrun a train either. Trains that ran through Louisville were topping out at 25 miles per hour in 2016. Some going faster, but that was still the legal limit that was placed on them. Now, they're allowed speeds of 49 miles per hour. It doesn't sound like much, but the average human can sprint only 12 to 15 miles an hour. That means even sprinting at the fastest average speed, it's still going to take you 33 seconds to make it across the trestle, versus a train needing only 20 seconds back in 2016. Now, you're looking at half that. A train can mow you down in 10 seconds from the other side of the trestle, and you're going to need much more time than that to work out a way to safely get down, which you won't have. Also, before you ask if the trains would even stop for the people on the trestle, of course they would, but trains also can't stop on a dime. It takes a while for them to be able to stop, thanks to all of the weight they're carrying. The Courier-Journal, a local newspaper in the area, once interviewed a retired train engineer, Wayne Gentry, who regularly drove down the track in his 34-year career. He had 43 collisions in his time, with only one being deemed an actual suicide. Now here's something else you might morbidly appreciate. The Poplik monster is one of the most famous cryptids in the state of Kentucky. He's commonly featured in books and lists about popular cryptids by state, and despite being deemed so incredibly dangerous with a bloody axe, sharp-clawed hands, thick boy horns, and supernatural abilities to kill you in multiple ways, he has no actual reported sightings. None. Yet here are all these people, tourists, teenagers, thrill seekers, climbing up these old rusty tracks, tempting tetanus and death for something that has never even been spotted, and that is just so fucking messed up to me. I can't tell you what the Poplik monster could be, even in speculation, because no one has ever actually reported seeing it. Sure, the area has a foreboding sense to it, but when you're in the woods next to a useless gate saying keep out and private property, no trespassing, while knowing that many people have died, that tends to happen. It truly is simply an urban legend, probably started from some weird farmer being spotted killing his goats by some teens who wanted to make up a cool story, and morphed itself into something much larger than life. But the dangers are very real, and they have had horrible results. Please do not go out looking for the Poplik monster. I know, that's such an anti-cryptid conspiracy paranormal lover take, but I'm serious. There's no monster. There is simply a dangerously high set of train tracks that look spooky and worn and torn, but are very much in use. And trains will body you harder than a drag queen for saying her contour wasn't on point, or me being woken up from a nap after work. You have chosen death at that point. All in all, let's try and end this on more of a positive note. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer because I love the idea of the Poplik monster. When you were a teenager, did you have any interesting local urban legends you'd like to share? Let me know in the comments. I read them all for future video ideas and to see how many other people enjoy learning about spooky stuff like myself. If you want to see what I release in the future, consider subscribing, liking this video, clicking the bell, and sharing it with others. Many of my videos are thanks to suggestions given to me, so feel free to let me know what you'd like to see covered next. I've now fallen into a pretty good schedule, with one of these longer form videos being released on Thursdays at 4 p.m., and I release shorts every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Consider checking them out. They're pretty neat, in my opinion at least. Finally, I'd like to give a big thank you to my patrons. Your support means the world to me. Seriously, thank you. With that, I'm Allie. This is Wicked Encounters. Don't go traveling next to trestles. I've already warned you multiple times at this point. And I'll see you next time. Bye!